Okay, welcome fellow yogis. I am in a different spot with my meditation retreat haircut, cut really short to make it easy. And I am officially here in Palm Desert, or actually La Quinta, just east of Palm Desert, for a tennis tournament that I'm helping out in so I can watch it. And after playing this morning, needed a shower, was going to come, found this lake here, and just learned, unfortunately, you cannot swim in a reservoir. But luckily they have a shower, so I just got to take a shower. And though it's super duper hot, like 30, maybe 32 now, this seems like a perfect spot to record this class because it's quieter than that Starbucks that I was thinking about earlier. And it's also a nice way for me to kind of show you where I usually do my meditation retreats, in this van, not in this location, but I can show you a little altar where I keep it, water, a yoga mat where I can do yoga. There is a stovetop, the kitchen, lots of storage for food, toiletries, clothing. This folds out into a bed. There is heat. And then if I need a airy nap, I pop the top up and can nap up here. So yeah, it's got everything I need. The blue little thing is the washroom. And yes, unfortunately no shower, so I had to use their shower, which yeah, was very nice, because usually in retreat sometimes I'll use a cloth and kind of wet it and clean myself. So showing you that, we should start with 3 prostrations. So again, have in mind the reason for it, to give gratitude for the teachings that have come down through the lineage, offering your body, speech, and mind. Offering your body, speech, and mind. Okay. And as we do our opening prayers, you may recall, hopefully, that the first prayer is usually one about bodhicitta, about trying to reach enlightenment to help all beings. So I'll share a little story that I heard on the radio on the drive down. And if you check up on YouTube, you can probably see, type in Punch, Punch, Punch the monkey in Japan. And supposedly this story is about this monkey who's lost its mom, was really young, being bullied in the zoo, and with nobody to have comfort, to seek comfort in, has kind of found a stuffed toy to hug. And so the interviewer was asking the person who was reporting on this story, why do they think it's such a big story? How did it get so viral? And the person was saying, well, it's it's probably showing, it's connecting to all of us, because we can all understand how the monkey may feel, suffering and not having a mom. And so now there's long lineups, there is more videos, and I think there is, a request to help this poor monkey Punch. So I just thought I'd share that because I think that is a good way to kind of remind you of refuge. Refuge is seeking protection. Punch is seeking protection in this soft toy. And bodhicitta, that, you know, I think a lot of us will, without having to watch the video, you probably can understand, you know, and want this poor monkey to feel better. Well, if you agree with that, then you should kind of just consider, you know, all the other people that you see, you know, obviously those close to you, those you work with, live with, that to know in a way they're suffering too. And that the only way you can really, really help them is for you to be enlightened yourself, so that you can appear as a teacher to them in any form, and help them reach the end of the path where they no longer have to suffer. So, with that long introduction, why don't we do the prayers in Tibetan this morning? All right, so up here, all right, goes Sashi Puki Chokshing Metok Tram Viram Lingshi Yende Yenpa Di Sangye Shindu Mikde Uwar Gi Drokun Namdak Shingla Drupar Shok Idam Guru Ratnam Madlakam Niratayami. And then now to do the refuge. We'll do that 3 times. Not sure, I should put something a little darker behind this page since it is super bright and, as I said, pretty darn hot. 32 right now. So I think maybe after this I might kind of just take off my shirt, turn the camera so you get a nice view outside, and continue teaching the class, because I can even hear in my voice I've got like feeling a little tired from the heat already. All right, so it goes Sangye Chudang Soki Choknam La Jangshu Pardu Dakni Kapsu Chi Dakni Jinyin Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupar Shog Sangye Chudang Soki Choknam La Jangshu Pardu Dakni Kapsu Chi Dakni Jinyin Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupar Shog Sangye Chudang Soki Choknam La Jangshu Pardu Dakni Kapsu Chi Dakni Jinyin Gipe Sunam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupar Shog. Yeah, give you a nice view of those. They're not mountains, but there's a lot of these little hills, and they're just all over. This makes what I think this desert area so beautiful. So, what are we going to review? Well, 9 stages of meditation. Those are the 9 stages that we have to go through, that we have to make it to the 9th stage, where then our focus is so good that, which is required for us to see the direct perception of emptiness. Right? So, yeah, first 2 stages, they don't even call meditating. You know, first stage, you can barely, you actually think your mind is, your focus is even worse than when you started. And that's probably because, you know, the person at this stage hasn't ever checked in with their thoughts. They didn't know how busy their mind was. second one, their second stage, they're able to focus a little bit better. But definitely, the representation was like a dot, 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 to represent an arrow, and there's more spaces than this dot. Stage 3, you can still see that same arrow, but now instead of a dot, think of a dash. And they call it patching up. And so that the space between these dashes to form the arrow is smaller than the actual time that you're able to focus. So it is definitely getting better. The fourth is where they say you have a continuous focus on your object. It'll be a straight arrow, but that there is gross agitation and dullness. So your mind will wander away, and your mind will be really dull at other times, maybe in the same meditation, right? And so usually one of the antidotes that you're supposed to do is, bring it to focus, or kind of increase your watchfulness. And what usually happens is that, by tightening up concentration, they say we tend to become more dull. And that usually is the bigger problem. I mean, the busy mind is not great too, but the dullness, they say, might make you feel like you're improving in your meditation path, when in fact you're just kind of like sitting there zoned out, kind of peaceful, but your mind just foggy, right? So by the fifth one, you've taken care of this gross dullness, and what happens is you take care of one, and then it swings to the other side. Now you got to take care of agitation and your mind being busy. I used to say like monkey mind. They actually say it's caused by actually trying to focus too much. It's kind of like a guitar string, or a string which is tied too tight, that it actually requires you to relax it a little, to be able to reduce your agitation. So that is, patching is 3, subtle 5, 3, 4, 5, 5 and 6, and then 7 is where you are dealing with subtle agitation and dullness. They both exist, but not very much. And by stage 8, that is where one only needs to kind of bring your mind into focus in the very beginning. It's almost like once you get on the highway, on the straight highway, you just need to do the steering in the beginning, right? Or the metaphor they use is that, if there's an enemy, and the enemy is distraction and dullness, by this point, the enemy is completely weakened. So that when you reach stage 9, it's basically no effort. You can just sit down, close your eyes, take a few breaths, and just be cruising in your focus. So that's a stage where you need to reach to. As I said, I'm not there. You can be progressing and sometimes be moving ahead, and then find yourself plateauing, or what might be discouraging. But what I accept now is that sometimes you do drop back. Sometimes I noticed a few days before I left, and there was a lot to do and take care of, prepare. my meditation came down to those early levels. And though that might sometimes cause people to, feel like they're not making progress, I kind of recognize and realize that it is affected. It is affected. Our mind is so sensitive. It is affected by everything we do, we feel, things we see. So what are we talking about in today's class? Today, actually the next 3 classes are on the object to meditate, what to meditate on. So last class we did the meditation on, they say, the most virtuous object, which would be either the image of the Buddha or they say the teachings. Previous course we did that on the emptiness, right? So today another option is to look at the Lam Rim. Lam Rim is the steps on the path of enlightenment, and so there are many different. Lam means path and Rim means steps in Tibetan. They say most famous Lam Rim, there are different ones, is 1,000 pages by Jason Kappa, called the Lam Rim Chenpo, Chenpo. It's often described as the most famous book in Tibetan Buddhism. And to do that, to meditate on this, there are 3 general kinds of meditation, right? The first one's called fixed meditation. I think that one probably explains itself. You're keeping that mind on the object. It's kind of like when we were meditating on Buddha, we were kind of focusing on what we imagine to be his image, and so you keep bringing your focus back to your focus, right? The second type is called review meditation, and this is where you would be reviewing the things like these 9 stages of meditation. If you're to do a review meditation on the different stage of meditation, you might, run through it 1, 2, what is each one, and then maybe go backwards, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and maybe do odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7. Like, you just kind of review it different ways to help your mind to embed this information in your mind. They say it's a little bit like playing scales, on any instrument or piano. You're playing the scales so that you have played all the notes, use all your fingers to be ready when to help you play something else, right? So yeah, it could be like the 5 problems of meditation or the 8 antidotes. The Lam Rim has different steps, so that is actually the focus. That is why they're offering the Lam Rim, because it is a good review meditation. And the third type of meditation is what they call analytical meditation. And so this one is where, like the term says, you're analyzing a problem. The examples he said is there past lives? Is it true that life is suffering? You can ask any question. Is there no pleasant object in this life? My teacher is a Buddha. Just any question that you can kind of just try to think about, and to think about again and again until the answer is really clear. So it was a good question that another student asked, and it was like about, well, how about if you analyze it and you come up with the wrong answer? And Geshe Michael Roach was just saying that, if you use the rules of logic, then you won't reach the incorrect answer, because logic will simply guide you to the correct answer, right? And that's part of what the next course covers, though we did have a class in last course that tried to, introduce it. Like, the example is, they say the sky is blue. It is blue because it is not green. I'm not sure if I remember that one correctly, but kind of like a 3-statement reason, and then there's correlations between different statements in what you're trying to prove, right? So again, coming back to the lamb rim, is one of the objects of meditation that you can focus on. It was again written by Jason Kappa, who supposedly heard these teachings from a Buddha in his mind, and he kind of wrote it down in this town called Radreng, 100 kilometers north of Lhasa, which is the capital of Tibet. So the 4 great Lamrim, they said, covers all the practices from the very beginning, from someone starting to be Buddhist, all the way up to the secret teachings. So though there are 5 great texts in Buddhism, the Lamrim isn't in any particular one of these 5. So it's not something you need to, well, it's good to know, just like, if you hear it or read about these 5 great texts of Buddhism, at least you can say you heard it. One of them is called the Perfection of Wisdom, in Sanskrit, the Prajna Paramita. The second one is the Middle Way, and that is called Madhyamika. This one I kind of just like to review, because I know when I first learned Middle Way, I thought it was like, oh, okay, don't be too happy when things are going well, don't be too sad when things are going well, be kind of neutral. And the thing that I heard over and over was that isn't what Middle Way means. As Buddhists, we should celebrate good karma, and enjoy it. Just remember that it's not coming from where it is. I played tennis today, I had a lot of fun, and it wasn't because of that, it was because of my karma of helping someone else enjoy themselves, right? But the middle way they refer to in Buddhism is having the view in the middle, and not having the view on either extreme. One extreme is that everything exists the way it does, that the beautiful person, the beautiful things you enjoy, that you enjoy them because it's out there, that things exist, and that, this food that you might like, if you eat it, each time you eat it, you will enjoy it because what you love about it exists in this food, right? So that's seeing things as self-existent. And the other extreme you're trying to avoid is that things are not existent at all, and that someone who believes that might think, well, if nothing really exists, then I can do anything. I can do bad stuff, I can be a narcissist, I can break, kill, steal, sexual misconduct. I mean, nothing really is real. And though things are not self-existent, it's important to remember that our future is created by the things we do. So, someone who believes that and does or says or thinks like that will plant the karma to, have those things, have the karma from whatever they do. If it's misdeeds, they will have the same happen back to them later, right? So middle way is not having either of those two extreme views on the world. Third great text is called Vowed Morality, also called Vinaya. And then there is fourth great text, Higher Knowledge, Abhidharma. And the fifth one is Buddhist Logic and Perception, called Pramana, right? So, yeah. So again, none of these five great texts contain the Lamrim itself. Now, what is Lamrim, since we talked about it a bit more? They say there's, it says in the notes, there's 4 great divisions, but 2 of them are the main ones. So the first one is the root of the path, it's called, and it's about taking a lama, which we'll kind of cover next, and lifetime behavior, how to behave after taking a lama teacher. And the second one is how to practice and purify the mind after taking a lama. So how to practice and purify mind after taking a lama. Third one is to request for help in your practice. And the fourth one is a prayer to meet lamas and to achieve goals. Prayer to meet lamas and to achieve goals. I think I said last time, they say the Buddhist definition of a lama is any teacher, any teacher that teaches you anything. Even your kindergarten teacher is considered a lama, right? But, for Buddhism, they do talk quite a bit about the importance of having a real teacher, though you might be able to read these same notes I'm going over, in the readings. I can, you can find it on that ACI file, or, I could just, take a picture of those couple of pages of the info I'm going for. But they say it'll enter your mind stream more when you hear it from a teacher, right? So in terms of taking a lama, what are the 10 qualities of them? And I think we had gone through it, but it's in the last course, but it's good to hear again. It's one of the ones that I had to memorize. It's kind of part of the exam. And the first 3 is definitely practicing the 3 things that any Buddhist is supposed to. It's like keeping their morality, being able to concentrate. And it doesn't mean maybe like stage 9, but you have mastered concentration, and you also have mastered wisdom. You have an understanding of karma and emptiness. So those are the first 3. Knowing more spiritually than the student, which is another important quality. Willing to make great efforts for the student. That one I usually have later, but okay. They should also understand the scriptures really well. That is the 6th one. The 7th one is that they have had the direct perception of emptiness. 8, a skillful teacher. They know what to teach a student. They know what the student can learn. So they adjust their teaching to that. 9th is they definitely should love the students. They have a desire to help them. And the 10th is that they don't tire of repeating the same thing over and over, you know, because unfortunately that's what is needed, you know, to repeat these same concepts over and over because they are so kind of embedded in us. Okay, so now, you know, when they talked about these 10 qualities, they realized that, you know, it's not so easy to find someone like that with all these 10. So they should have at least these 5. And it's the first 3: practicing morality, mastered concentration, mastered wisdom. And the 4th one is that they have at least either perceived emptiness directly or intellectually, that they can explain it well. And then the 5th, what must they still have, is that they love their students. Yeah, seems obvious, but you know. Now, in the whole kind of cycle, you know, Buddhists sort of say right now we're living in degenerate times. That kind of be explained in another course, but that the Dharma is not as popular as it was, you could say, earlier, right? So in these times, they said a teacher at minimum, what must they have is that, you know, in terms of what a teacher does, whether they do worldly things or Dharma, they should be mostly devoted to Dharma. And that they say internally. It's not, you know, maybe you look at the time that they spend more time on worldly things, but internally their thoughts are about the Dharma. And in the division between this life and future lives, they are working towards their future lives. Right? Now, it doesn't mean not taking care of yourself, they say, in this life, but you know, when they talk about this life, it means kind of like worldly goals, that they're not kind of just focused on worldly goals. 3rd minimum they need to have is they take care of others before themselves. Right? Take care of themselves, others before themselves. 4th one, they're not careless in their physical, verbal, or mental actions. So yep, they do consider what they do, they say, they think, as they understand. That's how karma is created. And they don't teach the students the wrong path. That's the last minimum. Right? So the reading in this class is fairly long. What do I remember from it? It was a nice mix. It was, you know, you can break it up, but I definitely recommend it. Whenever you might see the term bless me, what does it mean? You know, a blessing, and according to Buddhism, it actually just means changing my ability to learn, changing my Dharma aptitude. So to this teacher, our Lama, we can make many offerings, you know, material offerings, food, money, things are obviously welcome. But the highest offering you can offer your teacher is to practice what they teach you. You know, I don't know if I have shared, I mean, when I learned these open teachings, obviously Lama Mariska was the one who started teaching the first few courses, and then, but at a certain time she wasn't able to anymore. But so I think that was the majority of the courses, the ACI courses I took. So I wouldn't say I had a Lama per se. I didn't actually officially ask her to be my Lama. You know, that's what you need to do. You're supposed to ask your someone to be your teacher 3 times, um, 3 times, so that, if you're really serious, they'll know because you've asked them more than once. They'll usually say no. That's supposedly what they're supposed to do. But in the Tantra path, it definitely was a requirement. And so, yeah, the teacher now, who I've introduced to some of you, who leads the meditations on Monday, is my Tantra teacher. And yeah, I definitely will say that he has these qualities. And that, they say with learning anything, maybe in the beginning you can learn from a friend, learn from a video, but to really progress up to the highest levels, you do need someone, even when I go to see the tennis, even the lower ranked players, they might not have an entourage of a physiotherapist, I know physio, massage, cooks or nutritionists or whatever, but most of them will have at least a coach, right? So, okay. And one thing that they did star and they would like to repeat, and I think it applied to me too, is that there's a great danger in just wanting to learn more and more info, Buddhist info, without practicing it. And that, it can lead, they say, to your heart being, your heart being hardened to the Dharma. That at one point, it's just all intellectual, You do know, some of you might know, in universities there is, I think, a Buddhist course. I know that definitely at U of T. And as I was learning this too, I was like, oh, I wonder what new info will I learn. And there is a lot. I mean, there's so many 84,000 sutras, things said by the Buddha. But if you don't put them into practice, you don't put them into your life, then it's just, like trivia. Right? It won't help. So I know there's a fellow student who's doing her secret teachings, and there's a part of me was feeling like, oh, her teacher was giving her class every week, and they're progressing through the Tantra courses, and whereas this, for a while, it seemed like my teacher was busy and I was only getting one class a month. Yet it was good to hear this, because it gave me time to practice what I was taught. If there was a meditation, or if there was example, seeing things as empty, I had time to write in my book, every 2.5 hours. Was there some example of seeing something that existed outside of me, wasn't self-existent? And obviously, everything I see is supposedly not self-existent. Everything comes from my karma, from the past, that's projecting now. So, but, it's easy to say it's from things outside. So yeah, definitely have appreciated and not been jealous of, not going through the courses so quickly, because I do see, it's like learning anything. You don't really learn it until you do it. Learning about something isn't, Yeah, that was one quote another life teacher had shared many, you don't really know something till you live it. So, I think that is it. There is a picture in the reading, so I kind of want to share it just in case. I know some of you are not looking into that. And this one was, it's about the elephant and the monkey. And supposedly there's a lot of pictures that depict, how our mind changes. This isn't exactly covers the 9 stages of meditation, but it was one that Geshe Michael Roach liked. And so I'll kind of point out some of the highlights, kind of at the beginning of the path. The elephant and the monkey are all black. But then as you see, they go along the path, they start having a little more white as they are getting rid of bad karma, so that by the end of the path, they're completely white, right? So one reason it's not exactly the 9 stages is that there isn't 9 bends in this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But, they say in meditation we have to kind of withdraw from the senses. So they show some flowers. I think that's supposed to be food, some scents. Oh, here's the fruit. Something to hear, maybe. That was music. Yeah. That instead of running in the beginning, the monkey is slowing down, and, the mind being represented by the monkey and the elephant, they're under control. Kind of, you see the monkey now is under the control of the mind of the elephant. So anyway, take a look at it if you are interested. But let me see if there's anything else I wanted to share. No. So I will have to say, unfortunately, as it's so warm here that I think I need to go back inside. I am not going to do a meditation in today's class. Maybe I'll see if I can, they haven't really kind of discussed all of the Lam Rim anyway, so we will try to do it in the next class. All right, so a little shorter class. Hopefully I can send out the next one while I'm still here. And so thank you for listening to this, and we'll end with the closing prayers, which we'll do in Tibetan again today. And it's again dedicating the karma from the goodness you've received by listening to this, dedicating it not just for your own personal enlightenment, but so that when you reach there, you can help all beings. All right. So it's starting over here. Gewa di gewo kun sunam yeshe zok zok shing sunam yeshe le jong wei dampa kuni topar shok. Then we'll do the 3 prostrations again. Speech. So thank you, and hopefully I'll see you again while I'm still here in Palm Springs. Namaste.